Before you scroll away, let me ask you something. Do you think you would survive childhood in the 1970s? No seatbelts, concrete playgrounds, one television channel everyone had to agree on. We drank from garden hoses and solved our own arguments. No group chats, no instant answers, just scraped knees, strict teachers, and parents who expected strength. It sounds unbelievable now, yet those ordinary, rough-edged days built extraordinary resilience. We were not raised with comfort, we were raised with responsibility, and that made all the difference. Stay with me, because this is not just a story about the past. It is a lesson about how struggle quietly shapes courage, how simple living builds deep gratitude, and why the strongest generation may have grown up without the safety nets you cannot imagine living without today. At 70 years old, I do not miss the danger of the 1970s, but I miss the strength it built in us. We rode without seatbelts, played on concrete playgrounds, shared one phone with the entire family, and somehow we grew up braver, tougher, and deeply connected. This is not just a nostalgic trip back in time. It is a reminder that comfort never created resilience. Scraped knees did, empty pockets did, late nights under a dim lamp did. If you have ever wondered how ordinary children from a rougher era built unshakable character, sit with me for a moment, because the lessons from those dusty streets might be exactly what this generation needs to hear. I am 70 now. When I close my eyes, I return to the 1970s. Life was louder then, and quieter in strange ways. We rode in cars without seatbelts. We drank water from garden hoses. Playgrounds stood on bare concrete. No helmets, no warnings, just courage and scraped knees. We walked to school alone at 7. We memorized phone numbers because there were no devices to store them. Neighbors entered without knocking. Doors remained unlocked. Fathers worked double shifts without complaint. Mothers stretched one chicken into 3 meals. We wore hand-me-down clothes with pride. Television had 3 channels. Family meant sitting together to watch one show. When the screen went dark, we talked. We argued. We listened. I learned resilience before I learned the word. My friends and I played until sunset. We built forts from scrap wood. We shared secrets under wide-open skies. If someone fell, we lifted them. If someone cried, we circled close. But life was not gentle. Factories closed, farms failed. I watched my father return home silent one evening. His job was gone. Fear settled at our dinner table. That was the moment childhood shifted. I began rising before dawn to deliver newspapers. Ink stained my fingers. Hope stained my heart. After school, I helped my mother sew late into the night. We laughed between stitches. Hardship did not steal our joy. It sharpened it. Many things from that decade would shock you now. Children resolved their own disputes. Teachers were strict. Respect was not optional. We learned consequences early. Some lessons hurt, yet those lessons built spine and patience. I studied under a flickering lamp. I dreamed beyond our small house. One scholarship letter changed everything. I held it with trembling hands. My mother wept softly. My father stood taller than I had ever seen. The world of the 1970s was imperfect, but it taught me endurance. It taught me gratitude. It taught me that safety does not create strength, responsibility does. Now I watch my grandchildren live in a careful world. I tell them this gently: progress is good, comfort is pleasant, but resilience is priceless. We grew through scraped knees and empty pockets, through sacrifice and shared laughter, and that is how struggle became triumph. We found joy in the simplest things. A tire swing tied to an old oak tree felt like flying. A cardboard box became a spaceship of imagination. We played hopscotch on cracked pavement. We traded baseball cards as if they were gold. If someone owned a bicycle with a banana seat, that child was royalty. We raced until our legs burned. We argued over rules. Then we settled them ourselves. There were no referees in our lives, only lessons. On hot afternoons, we earned coins by mowing lawns. Blisters formed. So did character. At the corner store, a single coin bought candy we divided carefully. No one took more than their share. Fairness mattered. At school, discipline was firm. If we forgot homework, we faced the result. No parent rushed in to rescue us. We learned accountability early. I remember the day I failed a math exam. I felt shame burn in my chest. For a moment, I wanted to quit trying, but my best friend sat beside me after class. She said, "We will solve this together." We studied at my kitchen table. My mother placed warm bread between us. Encouragement tasted like butter and salt. Slowly, numbers began to make sense. That small victory felt enormous, not because of the grade, but because I had not surrendered. We also saw injustice. Some classmates left school to support their families. Dreams paused for survival. I promised myself I would carry their hopes with mine. When I earned my first steady job, I helped my parents repair the house. Fresh paint covered old cracks. Hope covered old fears. The world today looks polished and protected. Our world was rough at the edges, yet those sharp edges shaped us. They taught gratitude for clean water, respect for elders, courage in uncertainty. When I speak to young people now, I do not glorify hardship. Struggle is heavy. But I explain this truth. If you face it with honesty, if you lean on community, if you rise each time you fall, you will discover strength that comfort never reveals. And that strength will guide you forward, even when the road ahead looks uncertain and long. There were no filters on our photographs. If someone blinked, that was the picture we kept. We wrote letters by hand and waited weeks for replies. Patience was not optional. It was woven into daily life. Saturday mornings smelled of soap and hard work. We scrubbed floors before we played. Responsibility came before reward. Yet once chores were done, freedom felt earned. We ran through open fields. We climbed trees higher than our parents would approve of today. We learned balance by falling. We learned caution by getting up again. One winter was especially hard. The heating bill rose beyond what we could manage. My father placed extra blankets on our beds. He pretended it was an adventure. We believed him. My mother told stories by candlelight. Her voice turned cold nights warm. I understood then that strength is often quiet. It looks like sacrifice disguised as normal life. In high school, I wanted new shoes like the other girls. Instead, I polished the old pair until they shone. I took a part-time job at a diner. I poured coffee with steady hands. Customers shared stories. I listened. Listening became my education. I saw pride in workers who owned little. I saw dignity in mothers who stretched every dollar. Those faces taught me ambition with humility. When I finally left for college, I carried one suitcase. Inside were simple clothes and enormous determination. I felt fear, yes, but fear no longer ruled me. The child who once rode in cars without seatbelts had learned something greater than safety. She had learned responsibility for her own direction. So when obstacles appeared, when doubt whispered, when exhaustion pressed hard against my will, I remembered scraped knees, cold winters, shared bread, late night studying, and laughter that rose above worry. I remembered that growth rarely announces itself with applause. It arrives through effort repeated daily. And so I stepped forward again, ready to build the next chapter with the same stubborn hope that carried me from dusty playgrounds into a future I was determined to shape with my own hands. College was not glamorous. My dorm room was small and always cold. I shared it with a girl who snored like an old tractor. We laughed about it instead of complaining. I worked in the library stacking heavy books. Dust settled on my sleeves. Knowledge settled in my mind. Some days I felt behind. Other students arrived with confidence and polished accents. I carried rural simplicity and calloused hands. For a moment, I questioned whether I belonged. Then I remembered my father standing tall the day I left home. Belonging is not given, it is claimed through effort. So I studied harder. I asked questions without shame. I failed once, I stood up again. On weekends, I returned home by bus. The ride took hours. Through the window, I watched fields pass by. Those fields had shaped me. At home, my mother packed food into my bag. My father asked about every class. Their pride fueled me more than sleep ever could. When graduation day arrived, I did not search for applause. I searched for them in the crowd. There they were, worn coats, bright eyes. In that moment, every newspaper delivered, every floor scrubbed, every sacrifice made sense. The 1970s had not been easy. Playgrounds were rough, rules were strict, money was scarce, but love was abundant. Community was real. Responsibility was expected. We were trusted to grow up, and we did. Now I sit in a softer world. Children ride in safer cars. Playgrounds have rubber floors. Information lives in small, glowing screens. I am grateful for progress. Yet I tell my grandchildren stories of scraped knees and shared sandwiches, not to boast, not to criticize, but to remind them that comfort is a gift, not a guarantee. Strength is built when life demands participation. Joy is sweeter when earned, and character forms quietly through ordinary days of effort, kindness, discipline, and stubborn hope that refuses to bend, even when the wind blows hard and the road ahead asks for more courage than you believe you have. Now I sit by my window at 70. The world hums with speed outside. Cars glide quietly. Children carry devices brighter than our old televisions. Life looks safer, easier in many ways, but I know this truth. Ease does not replace effort. Comfort does not replace character. When I gather my grandchildren close, they ask about the old days. They laugh at the idea of one family sharing one phone. They stare wide-eyed when I describe playgrounds built over concrete. I laugh with them. Then I grow gentle. I tell them that every scrape taught awareness, every shortage taught gratitude, every strict rule taught discipline. We were not fearless. We were simply practiced at rising again. Resilience is not loud. It is built in ordinary mornings. It is formed when you wake early, though no one is watching. It grows when you choose honesty over shortcuts. It strengthens when you help a friend instead of stepping ahead alone. My triumph was not wealth. It was becoming someone my younger self would trust. A woman who endured, a woman who served, a woman who kept learning. The 1970s shaped me with rough hands. Family softened those edges with love. Hardship carved space for wisdom, and joy filled the space left behind. So here is my lesson for you. Do not fear difficult seasons. Respect them, work through them, Find laughter inside them. Share what little you have. Stand back up each time you fall, because one day you will sit where I sit now. You will look backward across decades, and you will see that the struggles you once questioned were building your strength. The sacrifices were planting your future, and the simple, ordinary days were quietly shaping a life of purpose, dignity, and steady, unshakable hope. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of your own childhood, or helped you see strength in a new way, please take a moment to like it. Share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Send it to a parent, a grandparent, or a young dreamer finding their way. Because stories of resilience deserve to travel, and sometimes one shared memory can spark courage in another soul.